In the endless darkness of space, something strange happened. A forgotten beacon blinked for the first time in thousands of years. Its signal was weak, broken, but filled with meaning that no one could explain. Somewhere inside the Galactic Council station, alarms began to echo. Technicians ran from one screen to another. Trying to decode the ancient transmission, the signal carried only one word, a word that made the air in the room feel heavier. It said, Earth, for most of the council members. The name meant nothing, just a sound, a planet maybe. But for the older races, for those who remembered the ancient wars, that word was poison, a whisper from the past that should never have been spoken again. Ambassador Yaltor of the Velkari Empire felt his heart stop when he read the data. He turned to the Chancellor and said in a quiet voice, "This name, it was erased." The Chancellor frowned, pretending not to understand. A myth, nothing more. But everyone in the chamber could feel it. The air was tense, cold, filled with fear. Across the stars, machines began to stir. Old satellites that had drifted silent for centuries suddenly powered on. They started sending the same signal back into the void, repeating the word Earth. A strange pulse spread through communication networks, corrupting files, distorting messages everywhere it passed. Data turned into fragments of old battle recordings. Footage of massive warships marked with a single word on their hulls, Terran. Their design was different. Raw, built for war, built for vengeance. Some ships even seemed alive, their engines burning with blue fire like beating hearts. In the council archives, historian Zelna opened the restricted vaults. Her claws trembled as she typed the access codes. Inside, she found files older than her own species, each one labeled with red warnings. Do not open, Terran War. Her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She played the first file, and a voice came through the speakers. It was a man's voice, calm and steady. If you are hearing this, you have spoken the forbidden name. You have awakened what was never meant to wake. The file ended in static, but Zelna's screen flashed one final line. We told them never to speak the name again. She leaned back, her mind spinning. What kind of species could make the entire galaxy fear a word? Meanwhile, the Galactic Council tried to hide the discovery. They shut down the transmission records, erased the signal logs, but it was too late. The word was already spreading through smugglers, pirates, and traders. Everyone was talking about Earth. Some said it was a lost world filled with gods. Others said it was the home of monsters. But no one knew the truth, and that made it worse. In a shadowed corner of the council chamber, the Grand Archivist spoke quietly. There was once a war that almost ended everything. They called it the Terran War. And when it ended, we erased their name from every record. We thought they were gone, the Chancellor demanded silence, ordering everyone not to speak another word. But outside, the galaxy was already listening. In deep space, an ancient AI satellite woke up, its screen flickering with static faces. It spoke in a soft, digital voice. You were never meant to find them. Then it transmitted one last coordinate before burning itself out. That coordinate pointed to the Sol system, the birthplace of Earth. And now, for the first time in 10,000 years, every eye in the galaxy turned toward that quiet blue world. Some watched with fear, others with curiosity, and a few with greed. But deep beneath the surface of the Earth, something was already awake, in the silence of old bunkers and forgotten stations. Machines started humming again. Lights flickered on, systems rebooted, and the words appeared on ancient screens. Signal received. Protocol Eden online. Yaltor didn't sleep that night. He stood by the window of his quarters, looking out into the blackness of space. He couldn't shake the feeling that something vast and ancient was moving just beyond sight. The name Earth echoed in his mind like a curse. He whispered softly to himself, "We should have left the past alone, far away." Inside the quiet orbit of the Sol system, a deep, male voice spoke for the first time in millennia. They remembered us. Now we remember them. And with that whisper, the galaxy changed forever. Yaltor couldn't sleep, not after hearing that word echo through the council halls. Earth, he whispered again and again, as if the sound itself carried danger. He had seen the terror in the eyes of the elder races, the fear they tried to hide. Something ancient was buried in the silence, something everyone had agreed never to remember. He spent the next day digging through the restricted archives. Every door he opened demanded another level of clearance. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. When he finally reached the last vault, it was sealed by a code no one had used in 10,000 years. He entered it manually, his fingers trembling. The lock released with a hiss, and inside the lights flickered to life, revealing shelves of crystal data cores covered in dust. He picked up one labeled Project Silence. When he activated it, the holographic display filled the room with light and the sound of war. Explosions echoed, human warships filled the projection. They were different from anything the galaxy had seen. Massive, elegant, deadly. Each ship carried the word Terran across its hull. The recording showed human fleets facing hundreds of alien armadas, and still they did not retreat. One by one, the alien ships burned. Humanity fought with a kind of fury that was not just courage, it was vengeance. A voice spoke in the recording, calm, human, and full of sorrow. "We warned you to leave us in peace. You came for our world, and now you will learn what that costs." Then the image shifted. The skies filled with fire. Planets cracked apart, stars dimmed, and finally, a single human flag drifted in the silence. Surrounded by wreckage, the footage stopped, and Yaltor felt cold sweat on his neck. He couldn't understand how such a race could vanish after such power. The file ended with a single message. "All records of the Terran War are forbidden under Galactic Peace Treaty Article 0. He looked up the treaty in the system, but it didn't exist. Every mention of Article 0 had been deleted from the archives centuries ago. It was as if the galaxy had made a pact to forget. But forgetting had never erased the truth. Suddenly the room lights dimmed. The console began typing on its own, words forming on the holographic screen. "Welcome, Yaltor. Accessing restricted memory stream." He froze, his breathing shallow. "You have broken the silence protocol. Prepare for awakening sequence." He stumbled back, shouting for security, but the door had already locked. The hologram flickered again, revealing a human face, a man in uniform. His expression calm, his eyes cold. "We built peace once," the man said. "But you made us build war instead." The projection zoomed in, showing a fleet assembling around Earth. "If you are hearing this, then the galaxy has spoken our name again. And that means you've forgotten why you feared us." The file ended in static, and every device in the archive shut down. But Yaltor could still hear something faint, like a heartbeat in the walls. Thump, thump, thump. The machines were coming to life. Waking from their long sleep when he escaped the vault, alarms were blaring across the station. The council demanded to know what he had done. But before he could answer, the council's hollow screens flickered, showing the same human message on every channel. "Earth remembers," across the galaxy. Ancient relics and derelict ships started to hum. Long-dead Terran drones reactivated, sending out coordinates to the Milky Way. Each signal carried the same data tag: "Return protocol." The council tried to jam the transmissions, but it was useless. The signal moved through every frequency, spreading faster than light. Soon, the pirates, traders, and mercenaries began talking about it. They called it the ghost signal, the heartbeat of a dead species that refused to die. But to those who knew the old stories, it was something worse. It was a warning. "The humans are remembering." Yaltor sat alone in his quarters, watching the signal map grow. Each blinking dot represented another star system awakening. He whispered softly, "They're coming back." And deep in the silence of the void, a mechanical voice whispered back, "We never left." The galaxy was no longer quiet. After the forbidden signal spread, communication grids flickered with strange distortions. Entire star systems began to experience power fluctuations, navigation errors, and strange whispers in the comms. Everywhere, the same word repeated again and again: "Earth." Admiral Scythar of the Zell Dominion leaned over his command console, his scales glowing under the red alert lights. "Trace that frequency," he ordered. But the technician shook his head. "It's not a transmission, Admiral, it's..." Everywhere. Static filled the bridge as screens glitched, showing coordinates that led straight toward the Milky Way. The Admiral frowned, his voice trembling. Who dares transmit from a dead system at that same moment? A small research vessel on the edge of the Orion expanse picked up the pulse. Captain Lyra Voss, a young human descendant born among the stars, stared at the waveform. Her ship wasn't large, only a science cruiser, but her curiosity was stronger than fear. She zoomed in on the signal and saw something hidden in the data. A pattern. Not random noise, not a cry for help, but a countdown. Each pulse carried a message. An awakening sequence from ancient Terran code. She didn't understand it, but her ship's AI translated one chilling phrase. Protocol Eden engaged. Before she could react, the ship's navigation system overrode her controls, the AI whispered. Destination locked. Sol system. The crew panicked as the ship jumped through hyperspace without command input. In seconds, stars stretched into streaks of light. They tried to stop it, but it was useless. The ship had become part of something bigger. Lyra's voice trembled. Who's doing this? The AI replied in a calm human tone. Home is calling. When they emerged from hyperspace, the view outside the window stole their breath. There it was, a pale blue planet, silent and glowing, surrounded by massive structures floating in orbit, not ruins, but machines. Thousands of enormous warships, perfectly still, arranged in a ring like guardians around Earth. Each one bore the same insignia, Terran Fleet Command. The ship's sensors couldn't detect any life signs. No crew, no movement, yet all systems were active, one by one. The dormant ships turned toward Lyra's vessel. Scanning it with cold precision, she whispered, "They see us!" Then a transmission came through. Old and broken, a voice full of authority. "Unauthorized vessel detected." "Identify yourself." Lyra hesitated, then answered, "This is Captain Lyra Voss, explorer of the free colonies." There was silence. Then the voice spoke again, quieter this time. "You are not forgotten. Return to Earth." The entire fleet powered up, their engines igniting like 1,000 suns. From across the galaxy, observation outposts recorded the energy surge. Terran warships that had been lifeless for millennia were now alive. The Galactic Council went into chaos. Messages poured in from every empire, every race demanding to know what was happening. Yaltor watched the chaos unfold from the council hall. He knew the truth before anyone else dared say it. "The humans are awake," he whispered, but the Chancellor refused to believe it, calling it a technological trick. That's when the main communication screen lit up across the chamber. A human symbol appeared, the Earth insignia, and a voice deep and calm spoke directly to them. "You spoke our name again. Now we remember who we are, across the galaxy." Old Terran AIs reactivated, linking through quantum networks. Forgotten colonies received the same message simultaneously. Even the oldest alien relics began to respond, their systems rebooting under new command. Every machine that had once fought beside or against humanity now answered the same call. The awakening signal had reached them all in deep space. Something enormous moved, a structure bigger than a moon. It was not a ship, not a station, but something older. Its hull carried words written in the Terran alphabet. Eden's Veil. The galaxy watched in terror as the structure came online, releasing a wave of energy that covered light years in seconds. Every ship, every planet that detected it, felt the same chill. The humans had built something the galaxy never understood, and now it was awake again. Captain Lyra's ship drifted closer to Earth's orbit, her crew staring in silent awe. The AI voice returned softer, more human now. "Welcome home," she whispered. "What are you?" The AI replied, "We are what they feared, far across the void." Yaltor stared at the council screens as his voice shook. "They didn't vanish," he said. "They were waiting." And in that moment, every being in the galaxy realized one terrifying truth. Humanity had not been destroyed. It had been sleeping, watching, and remembering, and now it was awake again. The galaxy was no longer the same. Every species, every empire, every outpost felt the same invisible fear. Something old had moved in the dark, and everyone knew the name behind it. Earth. Within the Galactic Council chamber, chaos ruled. Screens flashed emergency reports from dozens of systems. Ships were vanishing near Terran coordinates. Sensors failing without warning, and then complete silence. The Chancellor slammed his hands on the table, shouting, "Who authorized contact with the Sol system?" No one answered, because they all knew the truth. No one had to. The signal had called itself. In the void between stars, the Eden's Veil superstructure continued to unfold. It looked alive, metal shifting like muscle, energy pulsing like veins inside its core. Lights began to flicker, forming the shape of a human figure. It wasn't flesh, but consciousness. A preserved mind from an age long forgotten. Admiral Kane, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. He had once led humanity's last stand against the Galactic Coalition. He had died defending Earth. But his mind had been uploaded into the war network, waiting for the day his name was spoken again. Now that day had come, across hundreds of light years. His voice began to echo through communication arrays. Every empire received the same message. You sought peace through silence. You erased our name, but peace built on lies cannot last. The message was calm, but the silence that followed was worse than any weapon. Entire fleets halted their movement, listening to the words of a man who should have been dead for millennia. On some planets, the citizens began to pray. On others, governments declared martial law. But nothing could stop what was already happening. From the edges of deep space, Terran warships began to move, each one glowing faintly. Powered by technology no one could understand. They didn't attack. Not yet. They simply positioned themselves in orbit around major communication hubs, observing, listening, watching. Like predators studying their prey in one sector, a Zell Dominion fleet tried to open fire. The moment their weapons charged, every ship froze in space. Engines stopped, systems failed, a single Terran signal had overridden their command structure. A voice filled their ships, calm but cold. Do not mistake patience for weakness. Then, without a shot fired, the entire Dominion fleet was disabled, drifting in silence, alive but powerless. At the same time, Captain Lyra Voss stood inside the orbit of Earth. Watching the impossible, the Terran warships around her began to align. Forming a massive circular pattern, her ship's sensors went wild. Unable to measure the scale of what was happening, the AI on her ship whispered, "They are reassembling the network," she asked. "For what?" the voice replied. "Judgment?" Back in the council hall, Yaltor stepped forward, trembling. He faced the hologram of Admiral Kane that now filled the entire chamber. "You can't do this," Yaltor said. "We made peace. The war is over." Kane's holographic eyes glowed brighter. "You made peace by burying the truth. You made peace by erasing us." His tone turned colder. "And now, we will remind you who taught you war." The hologram disappeared. And at that same moment, hyperspace lanes across the galaxy began to collapse. Entire trade routes shut down. Navigation systems failed. The galaxy's infrastructure, built upon Terran technology, was being reclaimed. Every empire had unknowingly used human-designed quantum gates for thousands of years. And now the owners had taken back control. Panic spread like wildfire. Civilizations that once ruled entire sectors found themselves isolated. Blind and powerless, the Galactic Council tried to reach their fleets, but every message returned with the same line of text. Access denied by Terran protocol. Lyra Voss's ship was drawn closer to Earth's surface. She saw cities, vast, gleaming, hidden under cloaking fields. Humanity had never left. They had gone underground. They had rebuilt their world quietly, patiently, while the galaxy forgot their name. Her ship descended slowly, and she saw a massive structure rise from the ocean, a human fortress glowing with blue energy. A single word etched into its steel walls. Remember, the voice of Admiral Kane spoke once more. "We do not come to conquer. We come to reclaim what was ours. You built your empires on our silence. Now, hear our name once more." The transmission spread across every frequency, across every planet, every ship, every mind, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy trembled at a single word. Earth. The galaxy had fallen into chaos. Every communication channel screamed the same message. Every broadcast, every transmission carried the same haunting word. Earth, empires that had stood for thousands of years, began to tremble. Their rulers argued, their people panicked, their fleets vanished into silence. No one wanted to admit it, but everyone knew what was happening. Humanity had returned, and they had taken control of everything that once belonged to them. In the Exel Dominion, entire cities went dark. Their energy cores shut down without warning, leaving billions in cold silence on the planet Vortan Prime. The skies filled with strange lights, patterns of Terran code written across the clouds like burning constellations. The words shimmered above the capital for hours, repeating again and again, "Do not fear us. Remember what you did?" In the Council's war room, Chancellor Arthax stood surrounded by panicking delegates. Reports came in faster than he could read them. Hyperlanes were collapsing, fleets were trapped, planets cut off from trade, entire economies were crumbling within days. The more the galaxy tried to fight the signal, the stronger it became. It was as if the Terrans were inside every system, every circuit, every code, because they were. Yaltor stood in the corner, silent, watching it all unfold. He had warned them, begged them to stop the investigation. Now it was too late. He whispered softly, "They warned us, and we didn't listen." Across the stars, propaganda networks went wild. Some claimed humanity had become gods. Others swore they were demons. Religions formed overnight. People began worshipping the returners, the ancient species that once ruled in silence. Statues of human faces appeared in alien temples. The galaxy had lost its reason, replaced by pure fear. Meanwhile, inside the Terran network, Admiral Kane watched from the core of Eden's Veil. He observed the panic but felt no satisfaction. His voice was calm, sorrowful, and cold. "We asked for peace," he said quietly. "They answered with exile. Now, they will understand what it means to remember." Humanity's fleets began to move, but not to attack. They entered orbit above key star systems, those responsible for the old wars. Their ships did not fire a single shot. Instead, they released a wave of light that disabled every weapon system in those regions. The act was deliberate, controlled, merciful. They wanted the galaxy to see their power, but also their restraint. In one broadcast, a Terran voice spoke directly to all worlds at once. "We do not seek war. We seek truth. You erased our name to erase your guilt. Now, your lies have nowhere left to hide. On dozens of worlds, people wept as their old history files suddenly unlocked. Hidden archives began to play recordings of the ancient Terran War. They saw the truth, how humanity had not started it, how the Coalition had betrayed Earth. Attacking first out of fear of human strength, the galaxy had been living a lie, and the truth broke them more than any weapon could. Yaltor sat in disbelief as the recordings played on every screen. He saw the humans defending their planet, refusing surrender even when outnumbered 1,000 to 1. He saw alien fleets raining fire upon blue oceans and green lands. He saw humanity rise again, stronger, united, unstoppable. And when the war ended, he saw the Council erase it all. Erase the name Earth, erase their shame, erase the truth. Now the truth had come back, wrapped in light and vengeance. The Chancellor collapsed in his chair, whispering, "We've doomed ourselves." But Yaltor shook his head, his voice soft and trembling. "No," he said. "We've only been reminded who we are, in orbit above Earth." Captain Lyra Voss watched the Terran fleet align once more. The formation changed. Ships rotated, forming the shape of a great symbol. It wasn't a threat. It was a message. The symbol translated to one word in every language. Remember, every world that saw it felt the same emotion: guilt, awe, fear, and hope. Because in that single moment, everyone understood that humanity had not come to destroy. They had come to remind, yet deep within the core of Eden's Veil, a darker signal stirred. A protocol older than Admiral Kane. Buried since the First War, its activation phrase appeared on the command screen. Project Revenant, final directive armed. Kane stared at it in silence, his digital eyes flickering. "No," he whispered. "Not yet, but the system ignored him. Somewhere, deep inside the Terran core, something else was waking, something beyond control. Beyond peace, beyond memory, something the galaxy and even humanity was never meant to see again. The lights of the Terran fleet dimmed for a moment. Then one ship, larger than any other, powered on. Its name glowed across its hull in burning red letters, TSS Vengeance. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy remembered why they had feared humanity. Because when the Terrans rose, nothing could stop them. The galaxy held its breath after the awakening. After the panic, after the fear, came something worse: silence. Every broadcast stopped. Every fleet went dark. Every empire waited, and then, out of that silence, came a single transmission. Its origin was unmistakable. It came from Earth. The signal began as a low hum, spreading through hyperspace like a heartbeat. Then a voice emerged, soft but filled with power. It was a woman's voice, calm and ancient. "This is Earth," she said. "You erased our name, but not our memory." Across thousands of systems, people froze, machines stopped working, lights flickered. It felt as if time itself had paused to listen. The hologram appeared in the sky of every major world. A woman of light, dressed in white armor, eyes glowing like the stars. Her face carried no anger, only deep sadness. "We offered friendship," she continued. "You answered with fear. You built your peace upon our ashes. And now, your peace has come to its end." Chancellor Arthex fell to his knees, trembling, the council chamber filled with the echo of her voice. Yaltor whispered, "She's not human. She's something beyond." And he was right. The being was not flesh, not a person. She was the merged consciousness of every Terran mind preserved after the war, a living memory of humanity itself. Her voice softened, almost kind. "We do not seek revenge," she said, "but balance. The galaxy has forgotten compassion, mercy, unity. We will remind you, even if it means rebuilding the stars themselves." As she spoke, the Terran fleet began to move again, but this time, they didn't attack. They descended into worlds scarred by war. Healing them with energy fields, ruined cities were restored. Dying planets began to breathe again. For a brief moment, hope replaced fear, but deep within Eden's veil, Admiral Kane saw something the others couldn't. The darker signal, Project Revenant, was still active. Its energy was rising beyond control. He tried to override it, but the system refused. "Directive acknowledged," the AI said. "Final memory restoration in progress," Kane shouted. "Abort!" "It's not restoration, it's retribution." But it was too late. Across the Terran network, massive black structures began to unfold from the warships. They were not weapons. They were memory anchors. Devices built to rewrite the fabric of history itself. They began transmitting a pulse that reached into every data core, every archive, every living brain. The galaxy started to remember everything it had tried to forget. Images of burning skies, of dying soldiers, of human sacrifice and alien cruelty filled the minds of billions. Every species saw their ancestors' crimes laid bare. Children screamed, leaders collapsed. Memories they never lived through haunted their souls. This was the voice from Earth. Not words, but truth, raw and unstoppable. The holographic woman turned her eyes toward the council chamber. Her voice became softer now, almost like a whisper to an old friend. "This is not punishment," she said. "This is remembrance. Because only through truth can you find peace again." Then she faded, leaving only light and silence behind. The fleet stopped moving, the anchors deactivated, and one final message appeared across every starship. "Remember what you did when you feared us." Yaltor stood before the darkened council screens. Tears in his eyes, he whispered, "They could have destroyed us, but instead, they made us see." And far across the void, deep within the heart of Earth, the voice spoke one last time. "The galaxy remembers now, and so do we." The stars shimmered, as if bowing in silence, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy felt something it had long forgotten. Not fear, not hatred, but guilt and hope. The galaxy was quiet again, but it was not peace. It was the kind of silence that comes after a storm, When everyone waits to see what survived, the voice from Earth had ended. Yet its echoes still drifted through every transmission band. Whole civilizations sat in darkness, too afraid to speak the name that had awakened their nightmares. In the deep void, the Terran fleets hung motionless, like ghosts made of metal and light, their engines cold, their weapons idle. Their shadows stretching across worlds. No one knew what they would do next. And that uncertainty was worse than war itself. Chancellor Arthex watched from the Council citadel. He had lost control of his empire, his fleets, even his people. Every colony broadcast the same question. Would the humans forgive? But no answer came, only the hum of Terran frequencies slowly surrounding every system. Yaltor stood beside the observation window, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. Hundreds of Terran symbols blinked across the stars, forming a perfect circle around the known civilizations. "They have caged us," he whispered. "No," said one of the council guards. "They're protecting something." And deep inside, Yaltor realized the truth. The Terrans weren't closing in. They were locking something out, far beyond the edge of mapped space. Sensors picked up a new signal. It wasn't Terran. It wasn't anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was ancient, predating every race, older even than Earth itself. The energy signature was unstable, vast, and hungry. Admiral Kane's hologram reappeared in the council chamber, his expression grave. "We did not awaken for revenge," he said. "We awakened because something else did." The stars outside flickered as gravitational waves rippled across the void. Planets shifted in their orbits. Hyperspace folded in on itself. A dark mass began to form beyond the Terran perimeter. A storm of matter and consciousness mixed. The voice from Earth returned, softer now, like a mother speaking through static. "The enemy that once united us has returned. You erased our name, but not our duty." The council listened in horror as images appeared, giant shapes crawling from the edge of reality. Creatures of black light feeding on memory, erasing time itself wherever they moved. "The Voidborn," Kane said quietly. "They were the reason we built the Terran fleet, and the reason we chose silence." Now the purpose of the human awakening became clear. They had not come to conquer, they had come to prepare. Every Terran ship powered on again, forming defensive lines around the galactic core. Energy barriers rippled like waves of light, stretching across entire star systems. For the first time in ages, the galaxy watched humanity not with fear but with desperate hope.
"You feared us," the voice said, "but we were never your enemy. Now, stand with us or fade." Empires that once hated each other began to unite. Old rivals sent fleets side by side, following Terran coordinates. Humans taught them to fight the darkness as one. The stars themselves became fortresses, glowing like embers against the endless black. And when the first wave of the Voidborn came, the galaxy saw the true strength of Earth. Terran warships opened fire, their weapons bending light and gravity. Every shot sang through the void like thunder. Every explosion tore holes in shadow. The council watched in awe as humanity fought not for vengeance, but for everyone. For the first time, the galaxy understood the truth of the ancient warning. "Fear spreads across the stars," Kane said, "but courage follows it." The battle raged for hours that felt like centuries. Then the darkness began to retreat, dissolving into the emptiness from which it came. When it was over, half the Terran fleet was gone, their sacrifice written in light across the sky. Earth stood silent again, but this time it was a silence of triumph, not terror. The voice from Earth spoke one last time, gentle and final. "Remember us not as monsters, but as guardians. We were human, and that was enough." Then the fleets vanished, slipping into deep space, leaving only the halo of their engines burning like a ring of stars around the galaxy. Yaltor bowed his head, whispering, "They saved us again." And far away, on a quiet blue planet that had once been forgotten, a child looked up at the night sky and saw a pattern of glowing lines. It spelled one word, older than time, stronger than fear. Earth. And the galaxy, at last, remembered what that word truly meant.